everyone, thank you for tuning in. I'm your instructor Joy. Good to see you here, and thank you very much for your continued support. I really appreciate. So now it seems like the world is opening up again. It seems like we might be able to travel very soon, which is very exciting. So I thought I'll make a video about how to travel safely with your lovely partner violin. I hope you don't leave your violin behind, but I hope you take your violin everywhere. That's what I'm hoping. So this is a couple of guidelines. If you are planning to go for vacation, or if you're planning to go somewhere away from home, whether by car, by airline, or by a boat or a cruise ship. So a couple of things. How do we do that? Let us start first if you decide to go by car. Now, when you are driving, make sure do not leave your violin case in the trunk where there's no heating or no cooling. Either way is bad. So have your violin case inside of the car room where you are. So make sure when you have an air conditioner or a heater, make sure the violin has a little better well controlled temperature. And another thing that you want to think about is if you can avoid leaving the violin case right on the sunny side. I know sometimes it's a little hard, but if it gets a lot of sunlight inside of your car, see if you can put the violin case on the bottom and cover a little, because direct sunlight, even though it's at the case, most cases have a dark color. It absorbs a lot of heat and end up heating the violin too. Sometimes it's hard to avoid, but if you can avoid it, just keeping a little away from the sun would be great. Now, when you're driving, sooner or later, you have to stop at a gas station to put gas, and sometimes you go to eat something in a restaurant or to use washroom and so on. And when you do that, do not leave the violin inside of the car where it's visible. We hope that we don't have to think about it, but truth is there are a lot of instrument thieves out there. So when you leave a violin, a lot of people know when you carry a violin case that you're carrying violin. And so when you're leaving the violin case inside of a car visibly, you might be attracting the wrong people. So when you go to a restaurant or stopping at a gas station just to pay, or even a quick in and out using the washroom, to take a violin with you. Even though it's uncomfortable, it's not the best, but try to have your violin with you all the time. We're lucky that our instruments are not that large. Even in that case, it's not too hard to carry with us, so bring it with you. If you absolutely have to leave in the car, and if it's not too long time, you can consider leaving it in the trunk that's not visible, but still the best would be if you take the violin with you so that the temperature is well regulated. Now let's talk about airline if you're flying. Now we're lucky that we're playing small instruments, so you can take your violin as a carry-on luggage. I personally prefer carrying violins in smaller cases like this, or something like that, generally just shaped ones. But if you carry a square case, that is fine. Even square case, most airlines allow the violin case to bring into your seat as a carry-on luggage, plus a purse. I have my violin case, and I often have a backpack. So a lot of airlines have actually guidelines saying even though the violin length excels the limited carry-on luggage size, they have allowance. If you have that kind of documents from your airline, make sure you print out so that you can show it, saying, look, I'm allowed to take my violin with me as a carry-on. And once it's rare, it never happened with me. I've been flying last 28 years, almost every year except the last year because of the COVID. But I never had an issue. I flew 1 to 6 times or even more a year, and I always took my violin as a carry-on with me, and I take it and I put it just overhead compartment, I think that's how they call it. I just put it there, and most of the time it's I never had an issue. There was one occasion somebody said complaining that my violin case is too long, but then I told them that I always carry as a carry-on, and that the instruments violin should be allowed, and they let me have it, or they believe me. But if you can print out just to make sure, that would be great. Now make sure you loosen your bow hair. You should loosen your bow hair no matter where you're flying or you're just staying at home. Bow hair should be loosened just to protect your bow stick. Remember, it's carrying a lot of tension, but especially when you're flying, remember the air pressure is much different. The wood is your violin will handle it fine, but you don't want to push extra stress, so just loosen the bow hair. However, there's no need to loosen your strings. When you arrive wherever you're going, the string might have gone out of tune a little because of the pressure, the temperature change, all this one, and all other interesting things in the trip. But there's no need to loosen the pegs or any part to take away. One thing that I would suggest is just wrap your instrument, because remember the inside of the airplane can be quite cold. Often that was my case. So just something like this, nothing special. This is one of my mom's silk scarf that I actually stole from her closet. So she let me have it. Any scarf, just it gives extra layer of protection. What I do is just I hold it like that, and I just wrap it like you would wrap a baby, like this, and then I place in the case. What it does, it gives extra layer of protection, kind of avoids extreme exposure to very different temperature and humidity, while not completely sealing it, because you don't want to seal it with a plastic-like cover, because when there's a moist, you don't want moist to be inside. You want the air to be able to go in and out in a certain controlled way. So just wrap it and then put it in the case. That should be fine. Now, when you go to, you're wondering if I go at a vacation to completely different temperature. Let's say you are in Canada, in a cold country like where I am, and then you go to Caribbean, a beautiful tropical area, and when the weather changes like that, within the flying should not be an issue, but once you get there, your violin might adjust and go out of string or out of tune. The pegs might get loosened a bit, but that's not a big deal. No need to prepare ahead of time. Just make sure the bridge in the bag is 90 degrees and just tune it gently. Don't overdo it, and that should be fine. When it comes to if you're planning to go on a cruise ship or stay on a cruise ship for a couple of weeks, for a short time, maybe a week or two might be fine. But if you're planning to stay for a whole month or more, it might not be the best. I'm not saying completely no, but just maybe, simply because you're so close to water. You're literally on the water. So sure, there's a beautiful movie, cellist or violinist playing at the beach or in front of lake, all this. Even though it's a beautiful scenery, actually wood and water should not be put too close together. So of course it depends on the case by case basis, but in general, try to keep your violin away from extreme water such as ocean, lake, and so on if you can. Now, in general, let's say you took the violin and then you flew, you drove somewhere, and then all of a sudden, would violin ever fall apart? Almost never. I should never say never, but almost never. But once in a while, when the humidity is like extremely a lot, it may not fall apart, but some parts might open. Don't be worried, that's just part of it. You know, these violins are not made one piece of wood, but there are many pieces, the front, side, and back, and then the neck, that are glued together with hide glue, with animal hide glue. And hide glue are supposed to resolve with the humidity, with just simple water. That way, because wood moves all the time, that way the violin does not crack, but it rather opens up this part, and that can be fixed very easily. Sometimes it opens a little here and there, and that's not a huge problem. I mean, Just like we get sometimes sick, we sometimes have a little stomach ache when we go to different place or different restaurant. Your violin might have that sometimes, but again, as long as you use common sense, whatever is unpleasant to you, probably it's not the best for your violin, and just keep it away from extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme watery area. That should be fine. Yeah, so I wish you all a wonderful summer, a great travel, a great trip, and always take your violin with you. Music, it makes your vacation even nicer. Yeah, thank you for watching, and hope to see you again. Bye bye.